can't believe I'm talking to you guys about this. Hey, what up? It is your girl MD and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you head out. By the title, you can tell that this video is a little bit different than the typical thing that I post on my channel, but honestly, it has been on my mind, on my heart, and on my list of things to do for the last few years. Every few months, I always see a large conversation somewhere online about Black women, our experiences with doctors, and our experience with fibroids. And the stories honestly always blow my mind. The other day, I saw someone share their story. It kind of like kicked me in gear to get this done. So here we are. I never get too personal with you guys. I'm working on it. And we're about to get real personal. Maybe even a little TMI. I'm gonna be talking about periods, fibroids, my experience with it all, and my rather interesting experiences with doctors. My main objective behind sharing this is that I hope that it will be helpful to someone that might be going through the same things that I was going through, some unbearable pain that I was going through as well. Before you ask, yes, there was light at the end of the tunnel for me, but I will get there in a minute. Clearly, I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. I'm not telling you to get off your medications or stray away from your doctor's advice. This is me sharing my experience and telling you what I did and what worked for me. That's it. I will leave a timestamp below if you guys want to skip to certain parts of the video. Obviously, I would love for you to watch the whole thing, but I get it. All right, let's get into this video. Okay, to give you a quick background history of my period, I can't believe I'm talking to you guys about this, but yes. I got my period in middle school. I never really had major cramps like that. I played sports from middle school through college, and they say when you're more active and work out a little bit more, you may not get cramps as much, and that was definitely my experience. It wasn't until my first year out of college that I started experiencing some intense cramps, and that is also around the time when I wasn't as active. Nothing too unbearable, but they were there. That same year, I had been experiencing some aggravating burning pain in my stomach area. I thought they were ulcers. I had those too, but that's a story for another day. But it ended up being a cyst on my uterus. They put me on the pill to apparently get rid of it, and I do know that doctors typically, when you're having an issue somewhere in your uterus area, they just give you the pill to cure whatever it is. Cure. So as the years trickle by, I am getting your normal cramps here and there, and I do have to take some type of pain reliever, but nothing too unbearable. Okay, so this is probably about to get a little bit TMI, but we're already all up in my uterus. So the flow / texture of my period is pretty normal and pretty smooth up until this point. Fast forward to about 5 or 6 years ago, the texture of my period dramatically changed and it started to get extremely clotty. According to Google, they were never too big to be concerned, but I did have them every single cycle and the majority of all, if not all of the days. I wasn't extremely concerned. Obviously, Google said I was okay, but I did take note. Around that time, my cramps honestly started getting out of control, like out of control. I vividly remember the first weekend it happened. I went back to college for a weekend with some friends and everything had to stop. We couldn't go out. Like I had to lay down in the bed with a heating pad until like these cramps passed. Time moves forward, the clots are still there. At this point, my cramps are so bad that I'm literally in the fetal position, can't move for at least the first 2 days. No type of medication helped, nothing. Like I couldn't do anything except just lay there. I saw a doctor say online that cramp pain are on the same spectrum as having a heart attack. I believe him. I believe it. During that time, I was so fortunate enough that I didn't have to go into work and I was able to work from home. So I was able to take that time to recover for at least those 2 to 3 days. I'm telling you now, I would at least have had to have taken 2 to 3 days off from work those first few days of my period because there is no way, like zero way that I would have been able to go into a job. I was also that person that got all the symptoms. I honestly would catch myself acting so crazy like in the middle of it and I'd be like, Melissa, what are you doing? Why are you acting like that? So yeah, I had all of the things. I was dealing with these extreme pains for about a year. At some point, my god sister asked me to do this detox tea with her. Don't judge us. So you take the tea for the entire month and then at the end you're supposed to quote unquote see the result. That month I saw a slight change in my cramps. Still had them, but they weren't necessarily as long or as unbearable. Because remember, I am in the fetal position in bed for at least 2 days. That wasn't necessarily my experience that particular month. That next month they were back with a vengeance and I was like, what the heck did I do different? It was the tea. So my new regimen was the week of my period I would start drinking the tea. And that was literally the only way that I would get relief. I wouldn't realize my period was coming and I'd be crying in the bed in pain, and then I would just drink the tea and within 15 to 20 minutes I'd be good to go. Eventually I did go to the doctor. I voiced my concerns. I was telling her about like my pain, the clotting and all that stuff. She says, that's weird. You're not overweight. So yeah, that was the end of the conversation for her. So then I brought up the tea and asked her if it was safe and okay for me to drink, because obviously none of us really knew like what these detox teas were they safe to even take. And so she looked up the ingredients, and she was like, oh yeah, well X, Y, and Z is an anti-inflammatory, so that's probably why it works. If it's working for you, like keep it going. So I went on with my life, kept on incorporating the tea for the next year or so. Clots were still there, that never changed, but my pain was manageable at this point. Like I still would have it if I didn't have the tea. And then I started having new problems. So I started having this burning, nagging sensation in what I believed was my stomach. Remember, years earlier, I had a cyst, and prior to that, I had an ulcer. So really, I thought it was an ulcer. I'm having this pain literally 24/7. It was pretty bad. The only time that I didn't have this pain is when I was on my period. Imagine taking a flame and going like this on the inside of your stomach. That's what it felt like. I ended up making an appointment about 8-ish months later because it started to getting a little out of control. But I wanted to track the pain and the activity that I was doing so I had a better understanding of what to tell the doctor. So I would track like how long I would have the pain, what I ate that day, like what I was doing, so all of that. I went to a new doctor at this point, the old one moved. When I did track it, I realized that I was literally in pain almost 24/7. So anywhere between like 15 to 20 times a day, I would be in constant pain for like 20 to 40 minutes at a time. So say I would be in pain for maybe like 30 minutes, and then I might get like maybe a 15-20 minute break of freedom, and then the pain would start back up again. Then maybe I would be in pain for 40 minutes that time or 15 minutes that time, but I would always get like a break in between. I'd be woken up in the middle of the night, and then I would just lay there until the pain passed. So this new doctor that I ended up going to, everything I said to her, she didn't believe me. I mean, I think really she thought I was probably a lot younger than what I am. Guys, I'm in my 30s. I know that you probably think that I'm super young. I know that I look like I'm 12 sometimes. Anytime that I would express what was going on with me, she's like, are you sure that's happening? Are you sure that's not your imagination? Like, I had a chart, like a flow chart. I knew what was going on, sis. So I ended up having to go somewhere else to get an ultrasound for my pain. They couldn't give me the results. I had to go through said doctors. When I tell you, I had to call this lady for an entire month before she would give me my results. Like she said, before I even left, she was like, oh, you might have to call in a few times for me. Like if I don't remember to call you. I was like, where'd they do that at? I was calling her like almost every week. Never would call me back. Didn't even initiate a call with me. I'm just like, what are you doing? I left messages, I talked to the receptionist, called this woman for a month. The receptionist was like, try calling on this day during this time, like hopefully she'll be around to talk. What? Like, did your doctor do that? I finally get a hold of her and she says, you have a fibroid, no need to worry about it. I honestly wasn't prepared for that answer. That's like the last thing that I thought she was going to say. So I didn't have any good like solid follow-up questions. Like I was just like taken aback by that because I literally thought she was just going to say I had a cyst again. So I asked like, do I need to do anything? Like what do I do? Nope, don't even worry about it. Well, what can I do about the pain? Because remember, I'm in pain 24/7 at this point. Oh, just hang in there. Okay. So I was pretty much rushed off the phone, told not to be concerned and that I was fine. There's a history of fibroids in my family, and I know that's very common for women in the Black community. For whatever reason, the percent is extremely high for us compared to others. I did all the research that I could, but I was still in constant pain. Fast forward to 3 summers ago, I was hanging out with some friends. One of them I hadn't seen in a really long time. She had lost a ton of weight. Like, oh my God, what did you do? She was like, I stopped eating meat. I was like, okay, bet I need to do something to shock my body. I was trying to lose weight at the time. So I started down that road. I was still going to eat fish. That was the plan. That first month, my period was a little different. I still had cramps, I had clots, I had fibroid pain. I had a lot going on. But I did notice a slight change. Not dramatic, but slightly. So much so that I was like, what did I do different this month? I really didn't have to drink the tea as much. I still did because I was paranoid, but I did notice the difference. So that month, I really didn't do anything different but cut out meat. So month 2, my period changed again. It wasn't as extreme as the month before, but I was able to back off with not having to drink the tea as much. I was a little nervous, so I kept it on deck, but I didn't have to drink it as much. So month 3, I was a whole new woman. I didn't even recognize my period at that point. I was like, does this period belong to me? Because remember, I had been going through it the last few years. I didn't need the tea at all that month. Still had it on standby, but I didn't need it. I was still having the clots. I was still having some fibroid pain, but I did notice a difference. I was like, okay, let me kind of stick with this and see where this goes. I can't tell you month by month everything I was experiencing. I wish I had written it down. But I do know as the months went on, like everything was making a complete turnaround as far as my health. Like every month I feel like a little something was chipping away. It just didn't sit right with me that the only thing that I changed was my diet. My medical issues went from 100 to a 2. If nothing changed after that first month of me not eating meat, I would still be eating meat right now. So this July, it's been 3 years that I've cut out meat. I still do miss a good bloody steak. I miss oxtails. I really wanted to try that Popeye's chicken sandwich. Ribs, I miss ribs. Beef patties, I miss those too. But I just can't wrap my head around the thought that the things I was putting in my body was causing me such pain and such discomfort. My whole situation today, pretty much no cramps. Like sometimes I will get a cramp here or there. I don't really know why or why not. Like I don't know if it has something to do with what I'm eating that week or that month. Like I don't really know the rhyme or reason behind it. Maybe I'm working out a little bit more. I don't know. So I did track actually my last cycle. I had cramps for like 7 minutes one time. Sometimes I don't even realize that I have my period, which is absurd when you think back to me being in the fetal position for those first like 2 or 3 days. And I'm just like, wow, like you have come so far. Today, day 1 and 2 of my period, it's very thin, very subtle, kind of non-existent. And I can always feel when it's making the crossover from day 2 to day 3. Like I can feel like the cramping. I don't really know. I can describe it, but I can always tell. I get cramps for a few minutes if I'm going to get them. Day 4 is always full-blown period as well. 5 and 6 goes back to being like very subtle, thin, non-existent. 0 clots. I won't say the most dramatic thing, but to me it is the most dramatic thing because I was having such extreme pain 24/7 for the fibroids. I literally have absolutely no pain whatsoever. And I don't know, it just makes me so happy. 3 to 4 days before my period, I will have about like 2 minutes of fibroid pain, and usually those days are like my warning that my period is coming. That's how I know I'm about to get on. I haven't gone back to the doctor to see if anything has changed appearance-wise, but that is definitely something that I want to do sooner than later. I also don't get symptoms anymore, which is really weird too. Like none. I mean, yeah, I'm probably still moody, but I'm just like probably naturally moody anyway. But it's not like as crazy as it was before. All in all, I'm just so grateful that I found something that worked for me and that helped relieve my pain and just like my overall experience with my period and all that stuff, and the fibroids and the cramps and the clots, all that. Obviously, this is not going to be the cure, quote unquote cure, for everybody. Okay, so from what I've heard and what I've read, whatever they inject in the meat, it makes our insides inflamed. So I guess that plays a factor in our pain as far as period, uterus, all that stuff. I don't know about the pain when it comes to other health issues, definitely the uterus area. That takes me back to my original doctor when she was like, oh, the detox tea is working for you because it is an anti-inflammatory, aka my insides being inflamed, the tea was helping to counteract that. This doesn't necessarily have anything to do with this, but I was prescribed something that really I shouldn't have taken, and it wasn't necessary for me to take, and I could have been given something else. And it just started me down the road of just like having issues with like aspects of my health. And honestly, if I would have done like a little bit of research on it, then I wouldn't have taken it. Whatever a doctor prescribes you, I'm not telling you not to take it. I'm just saying to do your own research before you put something in your body. And I know there's so many people that have it so much worse than I do. There's people that have to get surgery to get them removed. Is I know all I did was cut out meat, and that is just what worked for me. It might not work for the next person, but it might help. And there were a few months over the course of those years that I did do Whole30. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Whole30. You can't eat processed foods, you can't eat salad dressings and stuff like that. You can, but you need to make it yourself. Even like with meat, I was eating meat at that time, but you're supposed to eat like grass-fed, like good meat. But I did notice a change in my cramps. So I say all that to say that I don't think it's just the like cutting out meat. I think it's the type of meats that you're eating, maybe even like the processed foods and stuff, because I don't eat a ton of processed foods even now. I just like pay attention to that stuff because that might help too. Really, whatever they are putting in the food, the meat, I don't really know, is clearly making, at least it was making my insides inflamed, and that is what was at least causing my issues and my pain. Am I ever going to eat meat again? I probably will. No, I know that I will. I just don't know when. I'm only going to eat grass-fed and organic, and I know it won't be like an everyday thing for me. Like I maybe would do it like once in a blue moon, but I always contemplate. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna eat some fried chicken, or ooh, I want a steak. But I never do it. Make sure you have a doctor that is going to advocate for you, because sis, they ain't checking for us. Always listen to your body, get multiple opinions, go to different doctors until they listen to you, until they hear you. Like really hear you. Research what you are putting in your body. Research what doctors are telling you. Definitely take your meds, stay alive, but just know what is going into your body. Advocate for yourself and those around you. That is honestly so important. This is not a video hounding you to stop eating meat. Just be smart about what you're putting in your body. I know it was a wake-up call for me. Also, pay attention to when your body changes. Like when my period went from smooth to clotty, I should have paid more attention to that. I should have gone to the doctor. I should have asked more questions. I hope someone found this helpful. If you have made it this far, I love you. You're amazing. I don't even know if this video made sense. I think that it did. Comfortable sharing your story, please share it down below. I'd love to hear your experience as well. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and like always, I love you, I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.